In a dramatic escalation of tensions between the Trump administration and American universities, the federal government has frozen $2.3 billion in funding to Harvard University after it rejected what it described as unprecedented demands. Harvard President Alan Garber issued a defiant statement on April 14th, declaring that the university would not surrender its independence to what he described as direct governmental regulation of Harvard's intellectual conditions. Within hours, the Trump administration announced it was freezing $2.2 billion in multi-year grants and $60 million in contract value to the prestigious institution. The administration's prescription goes beyond the power of the federal government. It violates Harvard's First Amendment rights and exceeds the statutory limits of the government's authority under Title VI. And it threatens our values as a private institution devoted to the pursuit, production, and dissemination of knowledge. No government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue. The clash stems from a review of nearly $9 billion in federal contracts and grants to Harvard, part of a broader crackdown on what the Trump administration describes as anti-Semitism on university campuses following pro-Palestinian protests since October 20th, 2023. The administration's demands included requiring Harvard to audit the viewpoints of students, faculty and staff, reduce the power of certain students, faculty and administrators targeted because of their ideological views, and immediately shutter all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs by August 2025, that the university must adopt and implement merit-based hiring policies and cease all preferences based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Throughout its hiring, promotion, compensation, and related practices among faculty, staff, and leadership. Such adoption and implementation must be durable and demonstrated through structural and personnel changes. The letter also demanded Harvard reform its recruitment and screening of international students to prevent admitting those hostile to American values or supportive of terrorism or anti-Semitism, and require the university to report any foreign student who commits a conduct violation to federal authorities. That by August 2025, the university must reform its recruitment, screening, and admissions of international students to prevent admitting students hostile to the American values and institutions inscribed in the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence, including students supportive of terrorism or anti-Semitism. Harvard will immediately report to federal authorities, including the Department of Homeland Security and State Department. Any foreign student, including those on visas and with green cards, who commits a conduct violation, in its rejection letter. Harvard argued that while some demands aims to combat anti-Semitism, the vast majority represented unconstitutional governmental regulation that violated the university's First Amendment rights. Harvard becomes the latest prestigious university targeted in what appears to be a systematic effort by the Trump administration to reshape American higher education. The White House has already suspended hundreds of millions in federal funding for numerous institutions, including $400 million from Columbia University, $1 billion from Cornell, and $790 million from Northwestern. The battle with Harvard takes on particular significance, given its status as America's oldest university and its massive $53 billion endowment, more than $10 billion larger than its nearest peer, Yale University. Federal officials from the Joint Task Force on Combating Anti-Semitism made clear the funding freeze is intended to force compliance with their demands, stating it is time for elite universities to take the problem seriously and commit to meaningful change if they wish to continue receiving taxpayer support. Harvard's response represents a significant shift from Columbia University, which acquiesced to many White House demands after its funding was cut. Harvard's leadership has taken a firm stance that the demands go beyond lawful authority. The university said it has already taken substantial steps to address anti-Semitism on campus over the past 15 months and remains open to dialogue about these efforts. However, Garber insisted Harvard would not accept an agreement that amounted to a government takeover of the institution. We have informed the administration through our legal counsel that we will not accept their proposed agreement. The university will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights. The university has retained heavyweight legal representation, including Robert Hur, who previously investigated President Biden's handling of classified documents, and William Burke, who serves as an outside ethics advisor to the Trump Organization. The confrontation has drawn sharp reactions from political figures. Representative Elise Stefanik, a Republican from New York and Harvard graduate, called for the complete defunding of the university. Harvard University has rightfully earned its place as the epitome of the moral and academic rot in higher education, fueled by the radical groupthink far-left faculty, inept university leadership donations by foreign adversaries and pro-Hamas terrorists. Harvard has fully embraced and tolerated the raging anti-Semitism, threatening the lives and physical safety of Jewish students on campus. In contrast, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey praised Harvard's decision, thanking Garber for his leadership in standing against what she called the administration's brazen attempt to bully schools. Healey acknowledged that anti-Semitism has no place in America, but argued that complying with the Trump administration's dangerous demands would have made us all less safe. Ted Mitchell, president of the American Council on Education, which represents many colleges and universities in Washington, suggested Harvard's approach could encourage other campus leaders to resist government intrusion into institutional decision-making. This gives more room for others to stand up, in part because if Harvard hadn't, it would have said to everyone else, "You don't stand a chance." This gives people a sense of the possible. The university funding dispute comes as another aspect of the crackdown unfolds. The detention and deportation of foreign students who participated in pro-Palestinian demonstrations. In a related development, a U.S. judge in Vermont on Monday ordered the Trump administration not to deport Mohsen Badawi, a Columbia University student and pro-Palestinian activist who was arrested upon arriving for an interview for his U.S. citizenship petition. The Madeley's circumstances mirror those of Mahmoud Khalil, another Columbia student who was detained in March and taken to Louisiana for deportation proceedings. A U.S. immigration judge ruled Friday that Khalil can be deported, allowing the administration to proceed with removing foreign pro-Palestinian students who are legally in the United States and have not been charged with crimes. You can't disappear people for exercising their First Amendment rights. The situation presents a stark challenge to academic freedom and civil liberties that will likely play out in the courts in the coming months. With billions in research funding and the independence of America's most prestigious educational institutions hanging in the balance,